Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're cracking open the very first chapter of a series based on our sources called The Rigged Market. We're going to definitively decode why a massive global system, one that was brilliantly built on trustless math, somehow devolved into a manipulated casino. If you've ever looked at a chart dropping 90% out of nowhere and thought, what just happened? Well, you're absolutely in the right place.
Okay, let's jump straight into a thought experiment. Imagine you've got exactly $1 million to invest today. Sounds like a pretty great day, right? But here's the catch. Where you choose to place that trade actually exposes the single biggest structural failure in the entire crypto industry. The destination of that $1 million literally changes everything. You basically have a fundamental choice between two totally different systems. One is an honest, mathematically driven system, and the other is a rigged corporate exchange. And if we track exactly where your money goes when you smash that buy button, it reveals exactly how the modern financial game is being played behind the curtain. To really wrap our heads around the mechanics at play here, let's use an analogy. Think of a decentralized exchange, or a DEX, like a completely transparent glass vending machine. You see the inventory, you put in your money, the item drops, and everyone can see the cash box. Now, a centralized exchange, or a CEX, that operates exactly like a casino dealer. You put your money on the table, sure, but the house has hidden chips, they set the odds, and they completely control the flow of the game. So let's look at how the decentralized side actually functions. On a DEX, like Uniswap, there are absolutely no brokers. There's no middleman, and there's no order book. Your $1 million goes straight into a public pool of two tokens. And by pure, unadulterated mathematical law, specifically a constant product formula, the price of that token absolutely must rise. It's just an automatic, mechanical reaction. Because we're dealing with pure math, buying lifts the price and selling drops it. Every single time. There are zero exceptions. If you buy $1 million worth of a token, the price moves up in exact proportion to the size of that pool. This was Satoshi Nakamoto's original vision. An honest, completely transparent market that literally anyone in the world can audit right there on the blockchain. But what if you take that exact same $1 million over to a centralized exchange? Well, it doesn't go into a math-driven pool. Instead, it lands right on the desk of a market maker. This is a powerful corporate middleman who completely controls the exchange's order book. They sit directly between you and the open market. So, when you hit buy for that $1 million, the market maker fills your massive order straight from their own hidden stock of tokens. They don't actually have to go to the open market, which means your $1 million order might not move the actual market price by a single cent. The price is no longer an arithmetic truth. It's completely their decision. Do exchanges play fair? No. Are market makers monitored? Almost never. And, when price becomes a corporate middleman's decision instead of a mathematical reality, systemic abuse isn't just a possibility. It becomes a guarantee. It's just built-in incentives. And that brings us directly to the manufactured flash crash of October 11th, which our sources break down in incredible detail. Here is how this builds into a total disaster. A crash doesn't always start with bad news. Sometimes a tiny, perfectly normal market dip of just 1 or 2% triggers automated bots. These bots forcefully liquidate retail traders who borrowed money or used leverage to make their trades. But here is the truly devastating part. Because those market makers have absolutely zero legal obligation to stick around when things get volatile, they intentionally pull their safety net. They just withdraw their buy orders. So those forced retail liquidations are dumped into a deliberately paper-thin order book, causing the asset to instantly freefall. There's literally no one there to catch the price. And once that cascade ruthlessly bottoms out, the house collects. Big time. They grab massive liquidation fees from the wiped-out traders. The funding rates reset, and those affiliated market makers, they step right back in and scoop up the panic-sold collateral from retail traders for absolute pennies on the dollar. As the trader and market analyst known as the FX professor pointed out in our sources, when you see a coin drop 50 or 60% in minutes with absolutely no news, no hacks, and no real reason, that is not natural market volatility. It is a highly optimized business model specifically designed to harvest retail capital. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, this sounds a little theoretical or maybe even like a conspiracy theory, it's really not. We have objective, real-world proof. Our sources tracked the exact same token, Atom, at the exact same moment in time across the two totally different trading systems we've been talking about. Just think about the difference playing out in real time. Over on the transparent, decentralized exchange, Osmosis, it maintained a perfectly healthy price of $2.79. It's just human buyers, sellers, and math, keeping things stable. But on the centralized exchange, the price was artificially collapsed to literally fractions of a penny. Same exact moment, entirely different realities.
The DEX survived that day because real human action and verifiable math are actually running the engine. It's that transparent vending machine. The centralized exchange collapsed the price because off-chain, opaque markets are heavily manipulated by design. Leverage meant latency, and the casino collected the pot. This specific event proves a pretty uncomfortable truth for the whole industry. The exact moment a token touches a centralized exchange, the market makers take the wheel. You lose all transparency and you hand over the basic mechanics of supply and demand to a corporate entity that actually profits when you lose. So we really have to ask the big question our sources pose. Why did so much of crypto fail? The reality is, the industry hasn't failed because the underlying blockchain technology is bad. The math absolutely still works. It failed because corporate gatekeepers and middlemen bolted themselves right back onto a system that was specifically invented to bypass them. To fix this, our sources argue we have to get back to the original blueprint. When Satoshi Nakamoto launched Bitcoin, he left us a finished engine. There was no centralized CEO, no hidden pipes draining value to insiders, and no rigged order books. It operated purely on verifiable rules. It worked flawlessly the day he walked away. The only way to stop being harvested by these hidden mechanics is to demand that assets live exclusively on decentralized exchanges. If it lives on a DEX, it's real, it's transparent, and it's governed entirely by math, not by opaque corporate market making. As the developers in our sources bluntly put it, stay on-chain, where the math cannot lie. So as we wrap up this first chapter, the ultimate question you really have to ask yourself the next time you look at a market chart is this. Why keep playing at a rigged table where the dealer holds all the cards, when a perfectly honest, mathematically pure machine has been running flawlessly since 2009? Think about where your money really goes. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.